I was thinking about like how people say about like destiny. I think in like versus free will, I think there's a mixture of it. Like you might have there's set paths for you, but it's up to you to choose which one you go into. Like let's say there's three paths and one's like a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, and it's up to you to figure out to choose which one, and then you go into that path. So I think when you decide to stay in LA, it was like one of those moments.
Yeah. I lay on the scare, you gotta glow, you gotta glow. She had my attention,
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Get podcast. I'm your host Zeke, and in this episode I have Rocky to speak about being an entrepreneur and his story. You can find out more information about him by clicking the link in the description below. I'd like to give a content warning for any strong language used in this episode and hope you have a nice day and enjoy the show.
In three, two, one. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for being interested. So, the first question I would like to ask is, what would your origin story be, and how would you like to represent it?
Definitely. So for my origin story, it's a good question, and I believe it's kind of aligned with like the book I'm writing, the second book I'm writing. And I'm not stuck on this yet. It's kind of like just been popping my head, playing around my head, but it's kidnapped to convict to CEO. It kind of really, really quickly and in a quick and dirty way kind of sums up my story from 11 years old to where I'm sitting right now.
Nice, nice. And would you keep it as a book? Would you make a series?
Yeah, so basically the book I'm writing right now is a compilation of my journals when I was in prison. I'm adding a preface and a forward and an outro to it, basically to kind of segue into the next book, which is going to kind of outline all the boot camps, institutions, and places I went to as a child, and then moving from there, obviously, to getting in a life of drugs and partying and craziness, to finally ending up where I am now in West LA, running the business, and kind of in a totally different place where I was 10 years, 15 years, and especially 20 years ago.
Nice. So I guess since we started about your story, introduced it already, so let's get into it. So you're saying that you had you say interesting or very challenging life and how you got up to this point.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I was gonna say the first thing is like Paris Hilton, right? The famous Hilton girl. But she actually recently did a documentary about this called, I believe, This Is Paris or This Is Me, where she kind of spoke about one of these schools that she got sent to in the US. And these schools I was sent to as a child, and I was kind of leads into the kidnapping story, are for-profit businesses. They lobby towards presidential campaigns, to keep child advocacy laws certain ways. And these schools basically manipulate parents looking to get their kids help. They're lying to the parents, are also abusing the kids. Me, my brothers and sisters, I'm also survivors. We're never allowed to communicate in these schools. We found each other afterwards thanks to Facebook. But everything from abuse to rape to physical to mental to torture, to just straight up lies and manipulation, and just very, very traumatic times, for everyone that went through it as a kid growing up. And the worst part about it is they're still in operation today. The ones I went to were on the borders of the U.S. and Mexico, as well as U.S. and Canada, called the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs. And they've changed their names and have all kind of lawsuits filed against them, but they're still operational. There's still kids, like as we speak right now, sitting in Tecate, Baja California, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, being made to count outside in the rain, being shoved on the ground, hands and feet tied behind their back. Girls out there, their kids getting played with sexually, not getting medical care, not getting any kind of schooling. All this happens like in 2021 in today's world right now. And also, back then when I was a kid too.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy times.
Yeah, but since luckily you made through all that, and then you said you went through some more stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, after I finally got out of that last school, so I went the first time when I was 12. I actually I was like at that age, I was kind of rebellious. My family's Indian, so they want the kids to be home studying, be good, yes ma'am, yes sir, type of thing, and kind of listen to them. And I was the opposite. I wanted to be out and about. I wanted to play with my friends. I talked back a lot, fought a lot with them, and with other people as well. So eventually, I got caught stealing my father's car out when I was around 12 years old. I would put the keys in, push it down the driveway, and started halfway down the street. And I got pulled over by the police in a small town in Mississippi. And they happened to know my father and called him instead of taking me to jail. And the next day, my mom was taking me to San Diego, flying me there, telling me I was going to some kind of camp where they'd take care of me and stuff. So we fly to San Diego, drive down to Baja California, Ensenada, and they're talking to the staff there. And as soon as you say bye to your parents and you walk through one door, everything changes. The lights get dim, your hair gets shaved off, your clothes get ripped off. You start getting yelled at and screamed at and pushed and shoved and told like you're gonna be here forever. You don't know how long you're gonna be here. You just better get used to it, listen to the rules. And that was the first one I went to. From there, from like 12 to 17, I was just bouncing around from military school, Catholic boarding school, different boarding schools. I got kicked out of one school in Alabama. This racist kid started saying things to me. I told him that if you ever say that to me again, I'll kill you. I'm 13 or 14 years old, obviously, so I didn't mean that I would kill him. But obviously, it's not coming from a Mexican boot camp. I wasn't about to take any crap from anybody, and that's what I learned there at a young age. If you kind of show a weakness, that people will bounce all over you. So at this school, I kind of said the same thing, and they kicked me out for that. Which obviously infuriated my parents and started me getting sent out to another military school, another boot camp. And that was kind of my pattern: 6 months, in a boot camp or institution around the country, or 6 months at home and back and forth. Until finally I went to the last one that I went to at 17, where I was actually woken up from my bed, like 2 o'clock in the morning by two guys that were so tall they had to turn off the fans in my room to even to be able to come inside my room. And they escorted me across the country in cuffs to the border of Canada and New York, in a small town called Ogdensburg, which is where I went at 17, where I finally graduated high school. And I mean, just as abusive, just as crazy of a program. I was 17, I was larger. They couldn't touch me sexually, they couldn't hit me physically, they couldn't do the same things they did to me when I was 12 years old. So eventually, I got out of that place, graduated high school from there early with a fake diploma because the place wasn't even accredited for a high school diploma. And when I got out, I was like, basically, F the world. I was like, no one can tell me anything. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I dove headfirst into a lifestyle of like partying, drugs, women, late nights, selling drugs, doing drugs, violence. And that kind of was my life from, 17, 18 until about 21 is when I got caught with a large distribution of cocaine charge. I've been, arrested at least 10, 15 times before that for small things, but nothing that, led me to, getting in big trouble. But this was a felony in the state of Alabama, and it was, a big deal. And that was the next 6 years of my life. 7 years of my life was in and out of jails, rehabs, house arrest, lockdown facilities, and then eventually prison. And as I say, everything happens for a reason. And because back then, regardless of what I was going through and why I went through it, or whatever kind of trauma I had and mindset or identity I had tied to myself, I still had no real direction. I didn't really know where I wanted to go in life, what I wanted to do. But in prison, I actually kind of started making business plans. And I was like, you know what? I just got accepted into law school. They said no, I couldn't go because I was a felon. The judge wouldn't let me out. So I was like, man, I don't want to be professional anymore. I wanted to be professional and make my parents happy and, make something out of my life that I thought I didn't know what to do with. And in prison, I started making business plans. And what's wild is the business that I own now, that I run and operate, has been successful now for almost 8 years, here made in India. I wrote that one-page business plan while hiding underneath a bunk in an Alabama State prison on a snuck-in cell phone, making phone calls to my bunkmates, sister and girlfriend, asking questions about, pricing, inventory, and the marketplace, and how to source. And then, when I got out of prison, I dove back in the same lifestyle kind of. Started selling again, same circles, everything. And I mean, I had my house, my cars, my clothes, my money, girls, everything all set up finally. I got assaulted and all my teeth and my jaw broken and everything with wires and everything. I finally, after a year, 2 years or so, I got my teeth back. And one day my dad came to me, actually November 14th, 2013, he came to me and said, you have your teeth back. You're done with your prison. You're done with your probation. I don't know where you are anymore. You're not coming home really. You're not talking to us. Do you want to get away? Do you want to just leave and go to some other country? And, me and my dad's always butted heads and sent me around the world against my will for my whole life. So the way he came to me, though, was just so different. And I know that it was a higher power, higher energy, call it God, call it whatever, you want to call it. It kind of came to my heart and spoke to me. It was like, wow, it's time to go try something different. And I was scared, man. I didn't know what to do, what I was going to do, what it was going to look like, where I was going to go with it. But I said, you know what? It's time to let go of everything. And the drugs that I had, I even gave that pill bottle to my dad, said, here, this is what I was doing, keep it. The girls I was with said bye. The circles I was in, I said bye. Everything I thought that was me, like the dope boy, playboy, party animal, the cars, parties, the money. I just said bye to everything. I went to India, and that was the first time I actually consciously tried to start my life over. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was definitely didn't just click and become better. It was a tough journey since then as well. It's been almost 7, 8 years now, and I've had lots of ups and downs. The one thing I haven't done is gone back to that lifestyle of selling dope, of being in the streets, of waking up just to party, of waking up in different beds with different women. I haven't gone back to that lifestyle like that yet, or not yet at all. I don't have like a urge or a craving to go back there now that I've kind of felt this life and I've attained somewhat, of a successful business as well as life kind of balance. I just want to continue progressing forward every day. And one of the biggest things, and like I've learned now, is it's not linear. It's not just a quick race to get to healing and to get to betterness and wellness. You got to be gentle. You got to be, ready to work, put the work in, and then enjoy the journey on the way. And that's where I am today. I live on the in West LA in Beverly Hills. My showroom is down the street. Have a nice, small, tight knit team. We do very well together. We're doing 6 figures a month on average, and we're continuing to push forward, and just continue to grow.
Nice. And get into all that, what kind of kept you motivated? I know you said that you got mad at the world and everything. So besides kind of with that, what kind of even in that emotional state, what kind of kept you keep going in life?
Man, like back then, like when I was like before I went to India, it had to have been, once again, a greater power just keeping me alive because there's so many times I was stabbed, shot at, robbing myself, getting robbed, like in situations that were just it's life or death. You're playing with your life. Um, as I got to India and got back to California, eventually and started my business, I started incorporating things like yoga, meditation, reading, listening to YouTube videos like Trent Shelton, Ralph Smart, Joe Dispenza, all these guys, Sadhguru, to put out good, positive vibes and information out there. And they became my models, my role models. They became my teachers. They became my saviors in a certain sense. I mean, even when I made it back to America and California eventually, I had to go through a separation with my ex-wife. And I got to a really, really depressed state, living in California alone, homeless in a minivan, going back to the same people I used to hang out with before. And once again, I'd say, Rock, do you want to get back in the same thing? Because that's what you're about to do if you hang out with this crowd. And I pulled away from all them, and I was looking for a mentor or a guidance or a coach or something like that. Couldn't afford it back then, and I couldn't find anyone either. So, these guys on YouTube and these books I started reading and this meditation lifestyle and yoga lifestyle, and I quit eating meat. I even now recently quit smoking weed and drinking hard liquor, period. And all these small, like, baby steps I've been taking have kind of slowly brought me back to center, first of all, and allowed me to start healing from all this stuff in my past, trauma and stuff from childhood, but also what we don't realize, I think a lot of us as men especially, that a lot of this stuff that happened as kids, like it programmed us in a certain way. It programmed us to not trust certain things, not trust authority, to, have a flight or fight and survival type of mindset. And usually what they say is like, if you're just trying to survive, how are you going to thrive? So I had to kind of like, and I still do on a daily basis, but I'm telling you, like, I still have bad dreams. Like, I have to kind of like fight that down and learn to heal and learn about myself and become aware of like why I'm thinking like this, why I'm reacting like this, and what doesn't serve me and what kind of mindset doesn't serve me anymore. And it's tough. It's a struggle. Like I still go up and down sometimes during the days even, where I'm like, I'm just really sad or down or depressed. Like right now, I just hurt my knee again. I cracked, I had an ACL tear. So I'm struggling right now with like not being able to have part of my morning routine that's activity, like working out, going to the gym. It just kind of brings my state down a little bit. But I recognize it now, right? I recognize like it's not just a random feeling that's happening to me. Like, this is this. I ask myself, Rocky, like, why are you feeling like this? Oh, okay, you can't move how you want to move right now, so you're actually feeling down. Like, are you gonna let that lead to the rabbit hole and go start smoking weed again and cover it up, or are you gonna like breathe, relax, understand it, feel it, and then what are you gonna do to work through it? Which for me now is unfortunately a surgery. That's just like one example. So
Yeah, a lot of it I see is like self-awareness and self-discipline, like keeping like even though every day is a battle, and every day it's like it's not like starting the race over again, but you're at the next checkpoint.
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. And then with that, since you also have a business, what kind of led you to business?
Yeah. So like I wanted to be a lawyer for the reason of I wanted to go first of all back to Alabama and free all the people that were sentenced incorrectly and all the people because when I was in prison, I was basically like a prison lawyer. I would write people's motions. I would take GED or help out in GED class. I would help people as much as I could. I really love doing it. I'm really. They say law is boring and dry, but for me in criminal law, I read a case. I love researching it, and I had fun doing it. So I wanted to do that, and I wanted to change the child advocacy laws, the juvenile laws, to where no kids that would go through I went through again. That didn't really work out. So because of my felony and going to prison and this and that. So I've always been an entrepreneur by nature. I was that kid who used to sell lemonade stands, trade baseball and basketball cards, cut grass for money. I'm always trying to go to the next level financially. So the business thing kind of came naturally. And while I was in prison, instead of wasting time doing other things, I would start writing business plans. And Hair Made India was one of them. It was a one-page business plan. I told you I had a snuck-in cell phone to my bunkmate. We called out. And a couple of years later, when I was in India, out of prison, it came in front of me, and I was looking for what to do with my life. I had to do something legit, and I made one Facebook post, and all my homegirls from high school were like, "What? Rock, you got hair? And we're gonna rock with you. Bring it back home. Bring it back home." And since that day, 2013, something like that, I haven't looked back. And it's been a struggle. I've had a lot of ups and downs in the business as well, where I've like even thought about giving it up and what else am I going to do? I had a job teaching tennis for the first 2 or 3 years of the business, so I tore my ACL the first time and had to let go, teaching tennis and then dive full head first into the business. And then once I came to Cali and my ex-wife left me out here, basically homeless, that's when I really realized, like, Rocky, all my friends like, Rocky, come home to Alabama. Parents like, come home. You'll be okay. Come home. We have a home for you here. And I was just like, nah, I'm not doing it. So I think that was my make it or break it, and like, I'm scared to even imagine like what would have happened if I decided not to come back, like to say, no, I'm gonna go to Alabama. I'm not gonna keep trying in California. But I did. I kept trying in Cali, and within a year, 2 years, my business was like literally doing 2x, 3 years, 5x. Now sitting on 4 or 5 years later, literally 10x from where I started at when I first came to Cali, living in a minivan, staying in hostels and on the side of the street sometimes even. And I love it, man. Like hair is not my thing for real. I don't really care about my hair too much. I mean, like, but the logistics, making, I do business to business, right? I help girls and guys start businesses, run their businesses, and continue their businesses to have a solid team and a solid person to back them up honestly and transparently and make sure they keep getting their product. And I love doing that. It feels like, and I hate to compare it to dope in the streets, but a lot of my clients do. It's so similar selling hair and, working with businesses, this wholesaling like something like I was doing in my past. However, it's not the same at all. Obviously, it's not illegal. It's totally legit. And I love doing it. And I've learned and grown so much, within this business about myself and about life, that I've had the opportunity and the blessing to open 2 or 3 more businesses, from a vacation rental condo company to a CBD company to now finally doing something that kind of more fulfills my heart, which is trying to spread my story and my message in hopes of like inspiring and motivating. And like the one thing that I love the most when people either hear my story from a YouTube video or a podcast or something, they reach out and like, wow, man, like that's wild. I didn't know that about you. And I appreciate you for sharing that. That really, really motivated me. And I really love what you said about, getting rid of distractions or how you were in prison and then took prison to where you are now. And that really just fills my heart up. That gives me energy for days, just hearing that and feeling that connection with somebody.
Nice. Can also be like, I made in the middle of that, I made a connection about like your time in prison, like doing a lot of the work and stuff, almost like an internship before becoming a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like you're doing like the like the assistant stuff for the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Paralegal almost like, and yeah, that's honestly, I feel like if I ever wanted to or needed to fall back on like something like that, one, I would love doing it. And two, I feel like I'd be able to pick it up like this, because like, I think that all of us have the power to kind of do what we want within us. And if we quiet ourselves and get rid of the distractions enough to like, yo, I love doing this. No, there's no limitation on that. After that, just facing your fears, because then all you need to do is like, if you love it, you can do it. You just go for it and you'll figure out a way. It might not be A to B or A to Z the way you want it to be, the way you think it'll look, but that journey on the way there, you'll find your own road and it'll turn out being beautiful the whole way. So
Yeah. And then now you're able to help others. So it's like there's always that self-actualization at the end of it, where you're able to see either parts of yourself or something that's wrong and you're able to fix it, or at least try to fix it.
Exactly. And that's a daily thing as well too. Like that we have problems, we have issues in life, and every day, like you might pat yourself in this and that. That's okay, but you got to understand why you're saying it, why you're doing it, and not act on it, and then kind of get beyond it. And I struggle a lot with a lot of things like that still. But I'm at the point now where like I have tools, like where I am struggling too much, I have tools to lean back on and say, Ralph, like you need to do this right now. This is what you need. This is what your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul needs right now. You need to do it instead of whatever else I used to do. I used to have really unhealthy coping mechanisms with drinking and partying and women and drugs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, just had a thought. Now I lost the thought, but I was thinking about like how people say about like destiny. I think in like versus free will, I think there's a mixture of it. Like you might have there's set paths for you, but it's up to you to choose which one you go into. Like let's say there's three paths and one's like a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, and it's up to you to figure out to choose which one, and then you go into that path. So I think when you decide to stay in LA, it was like one of those moments.
Exactly. It's kind of like you said. It's so cool because it's like a hard like place to like say anything definite answer wise because it's like yeah we kind of all have like somewhat of a destiny, right? But we also get to create and choose that path along the way too. Like I love that too because it's almost like that's like the basic philosophy, right? Like you can't give like a direct answer. You can just talk about it and say like it could be this, could be that, or maybe this might be that. But like at the end of the day, the quote I love the most is just like that journey, regardless of where it is, when you're choosing it consciously, it's a beautiful journey and you will be happy getting there. And that's the reason why I didn't go to med school or go to law school. I was going to go to law school, but it still wouldn't have been totally my decision. And the universe that is here for us kind of helped me in that sense because it knew inside of me, I knew too, I didn't really want to do this. I have other reasons to want to do it and it's not for me. So, the medical school thing I was able to say no to, but the law school thing, the universe had to hop in and say, hey, don't do this, Rocky. Like, you're not going to be happy with it. And it told me that. And I learned that lesson the hard way. But I did, I learned it and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my time in prison. I know a lot of people don't say that, but the stuff I learned in there, I mean, people to people, from the people I still know, like I still talk to just the way the world works, the system works. That's a lesson that you can't learn anywhere else. I mean, you can hear people talk about it, and yeah, that's what I think talking about it is for people to understand like those lessons we learned and those struggles we went through. But when you go through it and you're right there in it, those lessons are invaluable, and I hope to be able to share those with the world.
And sharing your message with the world, how else besides like speaking about it are you doing it?
So I'm writing those books.
Mm-hmm.
The one is about to be coming out. I'm about to move into the publishing phase within the next couple weeks. The second one is like kind of the whole life story from like detailing my childhood stuff all the way to how I became, successful in this company. So that one I'm still kind of working on. And then I do a lot of podcasts. I want the podcast and the book to eventually turn into actually speaking at prisons and in schools and at business communities around the world. And then, social media, we're blessed with these days, all kinds of technology. So I share quite a bit on my Instagram, quite a bit on my Facebook, a little bit here and there on my Facebook, on my YouTube as well. And my business, I've created in a way, I didn't do it on purpose. I just kind of didn't know what else to do except talk and like my self-talk. So I've like people now that, follow my company, Hairman India, they get to see kind of the inside look into what it looks like to be a quote unquote hair vendor and also what my life, Rocky Candola actually looks like.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, my mind jumps around. So going back to the business, I think 'cause a lot of times the people say they're going to like career that you love, but I think there might be a different way where you do something you're good at and have your passion or your career or like something you love be like a hobby, because a lot of times you get burnt out and working no matter if you love it or not. So if you do something you're good at, you know that you're good at, so it's not like you don't have to worry about like either learning about it or like having that hurdle, but you can still do it. Even though you may not love it, you can still do it for like the money. And there's no emotional attachment to it. And then you have
Exactly.
your hobby. Go ahead.
Exactly. And then like you were saying too, like all that stuff that we do, like sometimes for money, like it gives us the freedom and the ability to follow our passions, other things we want to do more. So it's like, it's all a balance. Like in the beginning, I taught tennis. I love teaching tennis, but at that point in my life, I was mainly teaching like to go to support ourselves, like when I was with my ex-wife back then and to kind of make it somewhere because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any ability to do anything. And I wanted this business to run. My passion was to, start a community business where a group of us are like-minded and moving towards common goals. And we got love. We share love. We're open with each other. We're transparent with each other, and we're all making money and moving forward together. And, hair wasn't my passion. Hair just happened to be that tool that, took me to where I am now. Because I remember about 5 years ago in LA, I was having to lie about like my background. I wouldn't want to tell my hair clients, other people that I did business with, I made this business in prison. I'm a convict. I was scared to say that kind of stuff. My parents hated me saying it. So eventually I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm miserable with this. Like if I can't be real about it, I'm not going to do this anymore. And as soon as I got real and say, you know what, I'm just telling the truth, I didn't lose any clients. I gained so many clients, and so many people were inspired and motivated by it that eventually it led me to where we are now, is to speaking about it publicly, to writing books about it, to talking about clients and coaching them about it as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, like I guess people like we're in the point of authenticity. People want to see your story and they want to connect to it and want to see that as real. Because a lot of times where like they say like industry plants where they put a person in with the image, where they're looking past their image, there's nothing there that people won't flock to it.
Exactly. And you're right. These days, people are looking for the authenticity and that experience. Like, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, and like you can't provide at the very least that transparent authenticity, and then beyond that, somewhat of an experience-based type of thing, like something different than what everyone else is doing, a little bit at least, it's going to be very hard to like kind of rise to the top. And with my company, accidentally, that's exactly what I did, because I'm not like any other people that do what I do. It's almost like a totally different type of setup that I have.
Nice. And then when you was making a business plan, did you know anything about business, or you were just kind of just going off the whim?
Man, everything I knew about business came from the street, like what I knew about common sense and how to turn a dime into a nickel into a dollar, you know what I mean, type of thing. Like that was it. I mean, and I mean, I'm not a stupid kid. I'm smart. I excel in my classes. I took some business classes in college as well. But to be honest, I don't think I used any of it, in my actual business. When I actually started doing business is when I started being, oh, now I need to learn how to use YouTube. Oh, now I need to learn how to use Google AdWords. Oh, now I need to learn how to use WordPress. And these things, these skills and knowledge I've acquired in the last 7, 8 years owning my business, have put confidence in me, knowing that, no matter what happens, I can shift, I can move, I can be adaptable enough to start something else and do something else. And I have, and that's where my real learning came in. I think a lot of us that have entrepreneurial spirits, that's how we are. If we want to push the envelope, we want to try new things. And then as, the troubles and the struggles come along, we're going to go find that information out there. We're not going to be like, oh, I don't know how to make a website, so I'll give up. Like, no, we're going to Google stuff. We're going to YouTube stuff. We're going to ask our friends. We're going to drive to Atlanta from Mississippi and go ask one of our buddies from high school to sit on the laptop and work on it and show me how to do this, And that's kind of what I believe at the heart of like entrepreneurial kind of spirit is.
Yeah, for me, I'm also just like a person who just like I don't have an answer. Either I'll figure it out, or I know somebody who does.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah. And then, yeah, also like a lot of times, like stuff you learn from unorthodox places can be like the realest. A lot of times the textbook is more of just information, but like real life gives you, even though like you said from the streets and everything, but like a lot of the principles, like for me, like I think like the streets and like I guess you could say corporate are like mirrors of each other. They're pretty much the same principles, same structures.
Yeah.
Not the same dangers, but dangers nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, corporate America is wild. It's just they make it legal and put a nice little pretty picture painted over it. Like some of the corporations that we have in this country today, are direct. You see on the news all the time, are direct results of like why we have housing market crashes, why we have weather problems, climate problems, why we have financial problems. And that's the direct result of a lot of these corporations. Even the place I went to as a kid, their corporations lobbying for presidential campaigns. So like, and those are the ones that, for us to, especially the common people, like we're looking up like, oh, like we should respect them and we should, they're the who we should strive for. And I think nothing could be further from the truth. And a lot of it in our education system, especially in college, is geared toward teaching you how to be a good worker for them. And that's kind of where they want you stuck. That's why they want you in the debt. I think if you're going, for a professional career, then yeah, you're going to have that general knowledge, that textbook knowledge, and then eventually, well, that clinical knowledge too. But for entrepreneur lifestyles and starting your own business, which people think, oh, everyone wants to do it now. Yeah, they do. But first of all, 80% of people aren't really putting their heart into it. And then the ones that are, like, that might look like the marketplace is saturated, it's not. There's so much space out there. There's so many different things in every different type of industry. So I hope no one ever feels discouraged about that.
And staying on like the business, we watch a comedy trap house, another podcast. They talk about how there's two type of people. There's a dreamer who will like sleep in the car and wait for the dream to come, like still working towards the dream. And there's like a hustler who's like somebody who's wants to maintain a lifestyle and just like they feel a certain way, they get below a certain amount of money, then they go into working towards getting that money again. For me, I feel like more of a hustler, more of a person who's like, I kind of, I will kind of do this work. Not like I have like things I want to accomplish, but like in the meantime, I'll just work and figure out things to the means to an end.
Yeah, I mean, one thing for me, like when it comes like the money, like and actually not even a year ago, I had made this status where I've got a spot downtown at the Staples Center, right across the street from the Staples Center. I'm looking successful. I have this identity. I have this nice big loft. Um, and I started to create that identity again around people thinking I was successful because of money where I'm at. And I got so sick of it. I'm like, I gave everything away. I'm talking about my suits, my shoes, my bedding, my furniture, my kitchen stuff, my electronics, the apartment, everything. And I gave it all away and moved into a hostel again. And I loved it. And since then and before then as well, I knew that money was not. We got to have money, right? I knew that money wasn't going to be the thing that made me happy, right? Because I mean, at a young age, I was blessed. I did have the opportunity to travel and to see nice things. So as an adult now, I don't have everything I have, even on right now. Like this is all presents and gifts. I would never buy myself an expensive chain. I don't know why. Like I don't care how much money I have. Like I'll just never buy one. Like that's not what I want to get. I mean, and the what I want to spend money on, traveling wise, like it doesn't really cost that much, especially when you're smart and doing it well. For me, the reason I want to attain different levels of money is so I can put those opportunities in other people's hands. So I'm like, hey, check this out. You can grow this. I can help you. And here's like a fund and like, to start with, something like that. And what I realized is, my father's family has some money as well. So many of these people that have all this money are so miserable. You know what I mean? Like they put on this facade and they're not really doing what they want to do. They don't have the freedom. They don't have the time. They're just not really happy. It's not for everybody. There's people that are successful and rich that are happy, but so many of them aren't that I've realized like it's just that's not what I'm going to chase, not the money.
Yeah, it's like that rat race, chasing the carrot. Just
Because you can never have enough.
yeah,
If that's all you want, you're never going to be able to have enough. You're just going to keep wanting more and more. You say, well, I want a million. Once you want get $1 million and you have that mindset, you're going to try to raise your lifestyle, live $1 million lifestyle. And then you're going to need 2 million. You're going to need to pay the taxes on whatever you bought a million for and everything else as well. So it just keeps going from there.
like what's good? $1 million is good, but what's better? 2 million, and then you start hitting like a billion. What's better than a billion? 2 billion.
You just keep going. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, most of us, the most expensive thing I'll usually buy is just my sneakers. But everything else is pretty much just like that could be cheap. It could be from Old Navy. I don't really care as long as I like it.
Yeah, as long as it makes you happy, it's always fine. Like when I was younger too, like I used to have like I used to spend ridiculous money on like putting systems in my car, big 18-inch subwoofers and stuff like that. I used to, and now like I'm like I don't even care what I drive. Really, like car that I have right now, I got played in a business deal, and signed my name stupidly on someone's paper, thinking he's gonna pay me, and he stopped paying on me. You know what I mean? So I had to go take it back from him. That's the reason I have that car. Otherwise, I'd still be out here in a minivan though, like, happy with all kind of trunk space. You know what I mean? Like all the way good. So
This had rooming for one person in here. I liked it.
yeah.
Nice. And so yeah, business and everything. So as you're continuing learning a business, what kind of been like surprising with you with business?
The thing that surprised me the most, which I didn't understand in the beginning, I didn't know in the beginning, was that as entrepreneurs, as people that are in business for ourselves, working on our personal lives correlates more than anything else to succeeding more in your business. It doesn't make sense to me even now sometimes. I'm like, how am I going to handle all these little small problems with clients and accounting and legal and your website, this and that, by making myself better? But if you really, really think about it, like if you're working on yourself, on your life, on your lifestyle, on how you wake up and when you go to sleep, on your routines, your habits, on your love, your grace, on your loving yourself and everything all at once, the energies behind that will elevate everything in your life and everything around you. And I've seen it. Now I'm not at the point now where I have to think about it or debate it or, might not. I've seen it happen. I've seen the magic work. So I just keep doing it. And I still sometimes get lost. Sometimes I get so into like trying to do this and that on the computer or the laptop and this and that. Try to take a step back. I notice now that every time I step back, business goes crazy. It just booms. And every time I do, I think that, oh man, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to lose the money. I'm going to lose clients. I don't know what's going to happen. But no, it's not, because I think the universe knows I've put in a level of work and a level of hustle for years and years and years on end now. They're like, I need to pay attention to myself. I need to look after Rocky to make sure I can continue to do this, because I'm helping people. I'm helping other businesses. I'm touching people. And in order for me to keep doing that, I got to keep myself and my energy filled up as well. So
Yeah.
that's one of the most surprising things.
I also think it comes from like a point like if you see the leaders kind of messed up, then people are going to like they're going to be ideas in their head about how secure are they. So the leader strong, then like, okay, I don't have to worry about that. I can put all my focus on fixing this problem.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah. And then I was thinking about going back to the idea of you being authentic, and that's how you got like more customers. I also think like that's always kind of been the thing, at least from the United States point of view of branding, because like with things like McDonald's, you kind of had that child childlike nostalgia from it, and that's kind of the story you go with, and then Burger King being like the rival to it, and now Starbucks being like more like Chipotle being like upper class, not
Yeah.
like upper class, like middle class type fast food places. And then I guess like and also when you're being more authentic, you're able to express more energy and more like ripeness inside when you're talking to people about your business. So I guess that also resonated with them.
Exactly. And I say this all the time, like business is about relationships, right? And it's also about the exchange of value. And, people that are working hard for their, tool, which is currency, which is money, they want to feel trustworthy. They want to feel like they're someone that they're doing business or they're spending their money somewhere with someone they can trust. And not only just trust, like, oh, money's not going to get taken, but I'm trusting myself, my value, my currency, my energy exchange into someone that is real and it's like doing good or trying to do good or trying to help. Like that's why all these companies and corporations, big ones especially, give back so much and make it, public. Not to mention the tax write-offs they get. Well, it does. It kind of puts it out there. It's like, okay, like they're actually looking to do something better. Even what Nike has been doing recently, with their ads and like kind of targeting like certain like groups. And, like people love it. And I love it. It's like, okay, cool. Like they're y'all a powerhouse company, dominate the world, but you still understand like reach people in your heart, and you're going to get more of that back, right? And that's what that's about. Like we're all humans. We all have that exchange, energy exchange between us. When you get business down to just numbers and just transactions, you really lose the point of what it is. If we didn't have currency and money, it would be like back was in the day. It'd be all like trade. We're trading one energy, one thing for another. And a lot of these people that are just about numbers and making the statistics go forward would not know what to do. And I think that's a very, very important lesson. And I've learned that over time as well, because being in the streets, you don't really think about anything. It's like, yo, I got this and I need that paper from you. I'm going to get it, but I mean, to be real, even back then when I was like hustling and stuff like that, I would charge more money for my products back then than people around me would. But I'm not, how most people are like, oh, you on drug dealer time? You're going to be 20 minutes late. Like, no, I'll be there early, on time. I'll come to you. I'll make sure to save this. And I used to do all kind of small stuff like that. And even though it was a wrong path or an illegal lifestyle, I've translated that to who I am now in my business as well. I'm on time for my calls. I'm on time for my clients. I got it all organized. I know who they are. I call them by their name. I take care of them. I make sure they're good. I make sure their money is safe. And I make sure they get their products on time and properly.
The customer service
Exactly. Customer service.
comes from both lifestyles. Yeah, that's funny. Guess you do a couple more, then we'll be done. So yeah, so entrepreneurship is like you said before, on the wave. Everybody, it's like people are hopping on to it, but then you going. It's like sports. As you're going up, there's a lot of people playing it, and then it trickles down as each level goes up. Less and less people are there for different reasons, of course.
Yeah, and I think that's where people are lost with it right now, right? Because on Instagram, on social media, so many people like look like they're just like, flying high and everything like that. And the truth is, like, it's just there's only a certain people at a certain percentage of like at higher levels, in this game. And I'm not saying I'm even at the level like that high yet, but I have seen myself kind of progress through there. And the first thing you have to get is like, and I had to tell people on my team this as well, like if you're working 9 to 5, you have security. And honestly, if I wasn't a felon and I found the right company, I might be in a 9 to 5. Like the universe helped me to get to where I am right now. Because I just wanted to be around good people making money. That's it. So like when you first start, you're gonna trade your time. You're gonna put work in, and people believe different things about how it come to you. What I've learned, what I've seen successful, become successful, is the work. Like you put the hustle, you put the grind in, you put the work in, you put the time in, and you build it. And you build whatever you want to build, your brand, your product, your service, whatever it is. And as it gains momentum, then you get to a place you're actually doing well. Anybody can, start a company, full business credit, flash $50,000 on cars and this and that, get an EIN number, get some business trade lines and act like they're in a G-Wagon and look good. I mean, but can you do that for 10 years? Can you set your kids up? Can you set your friends up? Can you keep that going and rolling, And you don't have to. You can start and stop and quit and this and that if you want, if that's what you're looking to do. But that's not the game I'm playing. I'm not playing that short game. I'm playing that long game that like, hey, in 5 years and 10 years, where are we going to be sitting? How's this company doing? Where am I going to be in my life, my business, my balance? And I think that if more entrepreneurs would have that mindset going into the game, that this market would seem a lot less saturated. Because a lot of people that start businesses and want entrepreneurs, they don't want to put that work in. They don't want to, do all that stuff and take all that time. They want it right then and right there because they see a couple hundred people on Instagram on social media that have done it. And some people get lucky, some people have the right ends. You don't really ever know what someone's true story is on social media. Sometimes people might have a family member that was able to help them in a certain way. Or like I said before, get a business tax line or credit to be able to like, start this or that. Everyone has their own journey, their own routes, their own paths. So like the comparison game, because we all in digital social media these days, is huge. And a lot of people are, like you said, hopping on that wave. I want to be an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, without really knowing what that means. Like in this day and age, though, like with the abundance that we have of money, of like, digital social media, like if you can't hop in, like 2020, 2018, and just, start it like boom off the bat and you're doing well and get what you need and continue that, then maybe like, like you need to consider something else, in my opinion. Because like there's just so much out there for us and you don't have to put all the time like maybe we did 10 years ago into it. Because right now you have shortcuts, you have so much media and technology and stuff to get you there. But if you're not going to put that level of work in that will, continue to progress, you're going to eventually fail. And failing isn't bad in business. It actually teaches you a whole lot. You might learn more from a failure than would in a success in business because at the end of the day, it just shows you how not to do it. And once you learn, say, hey, like, okay, I just need to put my time into it. I need to put a schedule down. I need to discipline myself a little bit, and then I'll have the freedoms I want. And you learn that part of it. It's literally skies. There is no limit. You can just keep going and going and going.
Nice. And then I want to ask about identity. How you I want to ask about identity.
Identity.
Yeah, what does identity mean to you?
So, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like identity is something that we all look for. It gives us a sense of security, a piece of like connection with the world, right? And mine was built around whatever it was when I was a kid, dope boy, all this and that. And once again, a couple of years ago, a year ago, it got built around being successful in our business and living downtown, having a loft. Um, Now I'm not so attached with identity. I don't really like labels as much. I know that I have a sense of like who I am and my identity and what's going on, but I consciously tell myself like, wow, this isn't really who you are, and this isn't really define you. Like because first of all, it'll change what you want, who you are, what you need, what your needs are, what your financial level. It'll continue to change. And if you're so stuck with one identity, you're going to miss out on the beauty of what could be in front of you. So that's kind of like my a quick little thing about identity. I've learned slowly to like not attach myself so much to the meaning of at least my personal identity and the labels that other people still put on me. They call me. I do all in all my videos. Whenever I say hair vendor, I'm always like hair vendor because I don't really like being called a hair vendor, even though that's what I am basically to them, especially for the business I help. I'm a hair vendor, but I'm so much more than that as well. I'm loving, I'm grateful, I'm kind, I travel. I love family, I love my friends, I love the beach, I love the water, I love all these different things that could make up my identity. I could call it that. I just choose not to. I just choose not to. Man.
Nice. And then wrapping up, let's go to the last question. What would you name your origin story?
When I name the origin story, like I said, it would be the kidnapped, the convict, the CEO. I want to think about it longer and give you something better almost, but like that's just the first thing that pops in my head. I think that might be the name of my second book as well. Or maybe something with hair thrown in there, hair CEO or something like that. But that just kind of it's a quick and dirty summary because I kidnapped 11 to 17. We're not allowed to make decisions in America as juveniles. So in a certain sense, the entire time I was, basically kidnapped. And then convict, the rest of the time when I got out, I was doing a lot of criminal stuff. I didn't think we touched on the surface of like, well, we don't need to go into details of all the stuff, I was actually doing back then. And then CEO for me as an entrepreneur, as a hustler, someone that has that background and lifestyle, kind of encompasses everything and says, hey, like, if you're a CEO of a company and you have people working with you, working for you, you've made it definitely beyond being kidnapped stage and definitely beyond being a convict stage. So I think that's a good name of the title of the story.
Nice. And then I'll conclude our conversation. Thank you again for coming on the podcast.
That brings another episode of the Let's Get Podcast to a close. Again, I'd like to thank Rocky for joining the podcast. For next week, I have Nicholas to speak about the Load Project and blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I hope you continue your next day, and I hope to see you there.